I'm Dusty Wright, and I'm day 3 of 365 days of live music and knowledge, or lack of. There is so much music to be discovered out there. There's so many artists like myself who don't have the big machine behind them. So, we rely on the passion of our friends and our peers and people that we meet randomly who might like what we're doing to share our stories, our music, our passion with other human beings. And the beauty of the digital world is that it allows instant access into our worlds. I always tell my friends who live in the Midwest, you really don't know what it's like living with other people until you live in New York, because it's no other city where you can rub elbows with every ethnic group, every economic strata member, from the poorest poor who are homeless on the street to some of the wealthiest human beings on the planet, and interact with them casually or semi-violently. I play harmonica, but mainly a little keyboards, but mainly guitar, some bass, mainly the stringed instrument. I think I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I was really, really, really young, but man, that was profound, because it was just like, wow. I came from a household where my folks listened to jazz and Frank Sinatra, Italian-American household, Louis Prima, Dean Martin. But the Beatles were, wow. That was my wow moment. I was like, I'm hooked. Coming of age musically, the 60s and 70s, what a profound musical experience. To go from all of that rich music from every corner of the globe, and then moving into the late 70s, where we had another explosion of music with punk and everything, and growing up in Akron and being around Devo and Pere Ubu and the Waitresses and all these cool Akron bands who were kind of like, they put Akron on the map, before Seattle was on the map. Akron became like this hotbed of music. And that was really inspiring. And that made me want to leave town, because the bands were leaving town to move to either LA or New York. And moving to New York in the early 80s and being completely blown away by the music scene of New York in 1980, 81. Wow. I'm a singer-songwriter. When you really distill it, people want to label you, Americana, roots rock, folk rock. It's a distillation of all those influences that I had as a young kid, and my own songwriting sensibilities, which are really simple. I look at Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Neil Young. 3 chords and 1 guitar. What you can do with that. And I think I've always gravitated towards telling a simple song with simple lyrics. My songs are more heart on the sleeve, the pursuit of love, falling in and out of love. As I've gotten older, looking at life, the existential questions: what is life? What is love? What is it to be loved? Have you loved completely and passionately? But always kind of direct and simple. 3 chords, 4 chords. I use this manifesto all the time. There's an old Iroquois manifesto. Every decision you make, you should look at 7 generations ahead for your decision, and how that affects those 7 generations in front of you. And I think that's a really important message to share with people. And I often think in our quick fix society, we don't look at those things. We are being incredibly generous on one hand, and then completely selfish on the other hand, with how we pursue and consume. And I think we need to balance that scale. There's been a lot of greed in the world. There are a lot of people who have a lot of possessions. Do they really need them? Well, it's their money. I guess they're entitled to spend it on whatever they'd like to spend it on. And some wealthy people are really philanthropic, and they're very generous with their money. But you look, when you travel the world and you go to third world countries and you see how the rest of the world lives, you're like, the scale is way out of balance here. And it oftentimes takes some kind of natural disaster for people to kind of rally around that ethos. Whereas if we thought about the decisions that we make, whether it's just voting on the right politician, like, how will that affect my life, my children's lives in 7 generations moving forward? That's like playing chess. You have to really think ahead about that. This might be a short-term fix that works, but does it really manifest itself into something profound? 7 generations from today.